Legislators go back into session in a couple of weeks to look at the budget, to deal with the budget. It's an off-year fiscal session. However, there are a couple of really big issues that lawmakers are going to be looking at that could be controversial. One of the issues that faces the legislature in 2 weeks when you guys go back is, will there be a special election to replace the current Lieutenant Governor, Mark Darr, who's stepping down February 1st in the face of some ethics violations? Will there be a special election to replace him? The second thing is private option. There will be an effort to either defund or not reauthorize private option, or to reauthorize it. We'll get into that in a sec. I'm joined by Senator Bart Hester from Cave Springs, a Republican, and Representative Greg Leding from Fayetteville, a Democrat. Thanks for coming, guys. Let's talk first real quickly about the special election process. There is some talk, and you guys have both talked about it, that there will be legislation passed that will give the governor the option of saying, look, we don't need a special election. We've got candidates who are in the race. Let's just go through with that. Representative, what do you think is going to happen at the legislative session on the special election?
If I had to bet this morning, I would bet that we're not going to have a special election to fill that office. Since the Lieutenant Governor is not resigning until February 1st, that gave us some time to weigh that decision. We didn't want to rush into anything because it is a fairly big decision to make. We are in an election year. That office is going to be filled in a few months, but it is a constitutional office. There's a reason we have it. We just want to make sure that we don't set an unfortunate precedent should we be in this position.
And there's a primary in May and a general in November anyway.
It could be a confusing situation for voters.
Yeah, you'd have to have a whole separate set of Senator, is that the mood in the Senate, you think? Do you think that at the end of the day we'll come out of this without a special election?
I absolutely believe we'll come out without a special election. I mean, there's business that's more of a priority for the people of Arkansas for us to take care of in the legislature. I think we need to just let that be settled and move on.
I think there was some question that there'd be like a $2 or $3 million bill too for a special election. So at the end of the day, you guys think both houses will wind up with let the election go as it is, correct?
I do.
I do.
Let's switch real quickly. Another issue that's going to confront you guys when you go back early next month is private option, which is spending federal Medicaid dollars to allow poor Arkansans to buy private health insurance. It was a real close vote when you guys were in Little Rock last year. You go into the fiscal session, it's going to come up again to reauthorize, I think, $900 million in federal money to kick-start this. What do you think is going to happen on private option? Do you guys think it will be reauthorized? Because the vote's going to really be close. Senator, let's start with you. What's going to be the mood in the Senate on private option?
Well, right now the mood in the Senate is there's the votes to defund it. Right? We feel like we have those votes, but again, there's a lot of water to cross under the bridge in the next 2 weeks. What's more important than about a defund is where does Arkansas go? What's Plan B? Do you just defund? And two can play at the defunding game, right? I mean, if we say, well, we're not going to fund the appropriation with the private option in it, well, they can say we're not going to fund an appropriation without it. So I think what's most important is that we all come together for the people of Arkansas and find some sort of a compromise, which is going to be very, very difficult, and it is.
What compromise is on the table? And then, the DHS director has said if it's defunded, you're gonna have some poor people who are going to fall through the cracks and not have access to insurance. Is there a plan B to sort of, what are some of the options that are on the table if it's defunded?
Well, I think the most important thing to understand is we're always redefining what poor means in Arkansas. We're talking about people that are above the federal poverty line. And with somebody like me, I ran my entire campaign on not expanding Medicaid, right? So it is almost regardless of what compromise we come up with, I could not vote to expand Medicaid, which is what the private option is. And so it has to be, for me, it would have to be some sort of defund. Now, whether that's defund in 6 months or a year and a half or some type of wind down process, I can be very flexible on what that process is, but I cannot support funding of this private option.
Respond to that, Representative. And on the House side, what's going to happen on the House side? Vote could be close. I think you've expressed in a meeting before some constituents recently that it will be a close vote. What do you think is going to happen on the House side? And respond to what the senator is saying if it is defunded. Well, first of all, are the votes, where do you think the votes are? And second of all, what happens in that political battle on the funding process?
I think just as last spring, the vote will be very close. But I'm confident, actually, that we are going to get there. We might be just a vote or two shy today, but I'm confident we'll get those votes. The senator's right. The private option does extend to people who living above the federal poverty line, but it only goes up to 138%. For an individual, That's about $16,000 a year. For a family of 4, it's about $32,000 a year. And one thing I'd point out is that here in Northwest Arkansas, we are blessed here economically, but Washington County and Benton County have the second and third highest private option enrollment to date, respectively. Washington County, it's about 3,900 people. Benton County, it's about 3,700 people. So we've got a lot of people up here in our county counting on this.
What happens if as the senator was saying, what are some plan Bs? In other words, you guys come out of the session and the votes aren't there. If you're one of those people in Benton and Washington counties that you're talking about, Representative, what do you tell them? What happens to those people? What's the plan B if it's defunded, if the votes aren't there? I know you're optimistic, but say it doesn't happen, then what's the plan B?
You're looking at thousands of Arkansans who risk losing health insurance, many of whom have had health insurance for the first time in their life. You're also going to have potentially a major hole in the budget, and we're going to have to take the time to come up with a new budget.
Real tight on time, Senator, response to that?
Well, again, we will have a hole in the budget, but Arkansas has been very fortunate. Our budget's growing right now. We have an excess again. I think we could easily fill that hole.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being here, guys. I really do appreciate it. Representative Greg Ladding, Democrat of Fayetteville, Senator Bart Hester, Republican of Cave Springs. Looks like there won't be a special election for Lieutenant Governor, and there will be a battle over private option. Thanks for joining us.